Thanks to SimpliSafe for sponsoring this video. Minecraft is pretty great, and the minecart is my favorite part. If I were to try and make one, it probably wouldn't be very hard to make a box that looks like one, and then all that would be left is figuring out the mechanical part. Simple, right? It's just a set of wheels riding on a track. Well, turns out there's a reason that I couldn't find any YouTube videos of anyone else doing this, despite the fact that Minecraft has been like the top video game in the world for the last decade. Finding tracks, and then building something that can ride on those tracks without falling off, and can reach real minecart speeds is fairly involved. So here's the story of how I went from this to this. The original plan was to do this on abandoned train tracks, but it turns out that that's a lot easier said than done.
First of all, abandoned isn't always abandoned. I found some tracks that I thought were abandoned, then I realized they were owned by a local freight company. And even though they're almost never in use, when I reached out to them asking if I could use them,
they said no. And I get it. Trains are dangerous, and you shouldn't go messing around on railroad tracks without the proper permission. I quickly realized that my chances of finding real train tracks to use was slim to none.
And especially not before snowy weather would make things impossible.
I considered making my own track out of old ladders, but it would be expensive and small. I considered making the minecart into a go-kart, but we all know that's just not the same.
That's when something truly spectacular happened.
After a few different people suggested it, I reached out to a small, nearby amusement park that I hadn't been to since I was a kid, a place called Little America. I vaguely remembered that they had a miniature railroad, but I figured it was tiny and that there was no way that they would let some random YouTuber test his contraptions on it.
I was wrong. About both.
After a friendly phone call, I visited the place to better understand the tracks I would be building for. The track was huge. They had miles of it, spanning acre after acre of beautiful scenery. And the crazy part is that the track dimensions were within inches of the dimensions of the track in Minecraft. They showed me the track, the trains, and the incredible train shop that they ran. Since they built these things, I figured I would save some time by asking them if I could just buy some wheels. But with current metal costs and machining, the price was around $500.
Per wheel!
And they were already in high demand for their clients across the United States.
You see, train wheels aren't just a wheel with a flange. They actually have a fairly specific and sophisticated geometry that allows them to travel optimally down the track.
Even though they couldn't help me with wheels, they shared proprietary drawings with me so that I could make sure that whatever I ultimately used would be close enough to work.
Everyone I met, and the two guys that I worked with, Daryl and Alex, were incredible.
And I was one massive step closer to making my Minecraft dreams a reality. But my quest for the right wheels was just getting started.
My first thought was to use 8 wheels instead of 4. The scooter wheels would ride on the tracks, and then the longboard wheels would ride in the tracks to keep it from falling off. Sort of like a roller coaster.
But this wouldn't fit the small grooves of a switch track or a road crossing, and it definitely wouldn't sound like a real minecart. I looked up flange casters online, but they were expensive and had long shipping lead times. I considered machining my own wheels with my CNC, but the materials were quite expensive, and it would take a lot of time, plus it just seemed wasteful.
I mean, call me naive, but surely there had to be an existing product that was cheap, readily available, and would work with little modification. And there was.
Brake drums from an old Chevy Cavalier. Not only were their dimensions just close enough that they might work, but they were made of cast iron, just like the real minecart. They also just so happened to be the cheapest brake drums that I could find on Amazon. I finally had my wheels. Now all I needed were axles and bearings and mount plates and a sprocket and a motor and a controller and a chain and, well, lots of other stuff. This quickly became my most expensive project yet, which is why I'm glad today's video is sponsored by SimpliSafe. SimpliSafe is a super easy way to secure your home, and they're having their best deals of the year with early Black Friday access right now. The components of their award-winning security system surprised even me. Now, of course, you get things like a video doorbell, which, once you've used that, you'll never go back to answering the door the old-fashioned way. Ow! You also get a variety of different sensors. And I don't just mean things like motion sensors and entry sensors, but you also get things like a water sensor, which is an absolute game changer if, like me, you have a spot in your home that is prone to flooding. They even just launched a wireless outdoor security camera with features like a 140-degree field of view, color night vision, and a 1080p resolution so you can see exactly what's going bump in the night. There are so many other clever components to this kit that I could mention, but more importantly is their intuitive setup process and seamless integration into one simple app. And you can rest easy knowing that their 24/7 monitoring service is ready to send fast help in an emergency.
So if you are ready for whole home security that's as simple as it is robust, and you want to save 50% or more on your SimpliSafe security system, then go to simplysafe.com/JoelCreates to learn more. Sponsors like SimpliSafe help me to provide for my family, and now they're also helping me keep them safe. Thanks, SimpliSafe.
So how did I build this? Well, I cut 2 segments of 3/4-inch steel shaft for the axles, and 1 for the wheel pivot. You see, the guys at the train shop told me that in order for a cart to ride properly, 1 set of wheels needs to be able to pivot like a teeter-totter, so I did this using the same bearings that the axles use. I used my CNC machine to cut 2 mount plates for both the front and rear axles out of 1/4-inch aluminum. The wheels are mounted to the axles via some shaft adapters, machined to fit the 5-bolt pattern on the drum. I centered these using a hub jig that I cut, but even with this, the weight distribution was not quite even enough, and it vibrated a fair amount when spinning at high speed. So I meticulously balanced each wheel with some zinc wheel weights. Much better. The system is powered by a 72-volt, 3,000-watt electric motor that I got on Amazon. The minecart in Minecraft has a maximum speed of 8 blocks a second when going in a straight line, and just over 11 while moving diagonally. Because a block is 1 meter, this works out to just over 25 miles an hour. So I made sure that the rear sprocket, wheel diameter, and max motor RPM would allow me to go a bit faster than that. I cut the chassis of the cart from a sheet of plywood since it's lightweight, strong, and cheap. Now before I could make this into a real minecart, I first had to test my basic design and make sure it would ride like a real minecart. So I mounted everything to the chassis and then gave it its first basic test on my basement floor.
That's not good. Alright, here we go. Oh. Woo. Well, I think I spun the tires there.
I couldn't believe that I was finally gonna get to experience riding my own rail cart, even if it wasn't a true minecart just yet.
Oh, yeah. I guess let's see what happens. Whoa! Am I going the wrong way, maybe? Could you come and grab the front of the cart? Yeah, it's a beast. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's see if we survive. Whoa.
Okay, so the first time was probably because we went the wrong way over a switch track, and the second time was probably because we didn't actually set it properly inside the rail. And then I got kind of turned around going back through the switch tracks and ended up going to where the trains were stored. And then I had to back it up so that I could get back onto the right track, but eventually I got it sorted. I mean, you gotta remember, this is all pretty new to me, and even though the people who were allowing me to use this were super helpful, when I got there to test, they basically were just like, hey man, good luck. So, yeah. And that's when I finally started to push the throttle just a little bit, and it was awesome. I was already having such a blast, I couldn't imagine what it would be like coming back here with a fully finished minecart.
Alright, let's turn around and go find where Matt went.
Okay, right there.
That's where I made a big mistake.
Or maybe it wasn't, because it was a good thing that I did it and found out the problem.
Oh, what just happened? What did I do wrong with this thing? How could it come off? Oh, geez. Okay, that's good to know. This is why we're out here. We have pushed it to the point of failure. They both have gotten loose. How are the front wheels doing? The front wheels look like they're in good shape. It's just the rears that have gotten messed up. Shoot, I should have kept an Allen key on me. The set screws for the drive wheels must have gotten loose, or they weren't good enough. You know what probably happened is the torque from spinning the rod probably ground down where they were sitting to the point that they got loose. And so what I'm gonna have to do is grind some flat spots on the actual bars so that those set screws stay put, because if that happens at speed, if it goes down at 25, that's gonna be a bad time.
So that's where I leave you, for now. I wanted this video to focus on the build details, and I was also super excited to show you what I had done so far. But in a few short weeks, I hope to show you a finished, real Minecraft Minecart riding down mile after mile of this incredible track. So make sure you're subscribed and keep your eyes peeled.
I'll see you then.